fellow book lovers. My name's Anna and this is Bluebell and Joe. I'm a mother who's passionate about children's books. My daughter also loves books when she's not selling them on eBay. So the theme for this video is seasonal rhythms. These books here cover all sorts of different topics, from festivals to food, nature, poetry and crafting as well. So they are brilliant to dip in and out of throughout the whole year. There's something for everyone. So let's dive right in. So let's start with this bad boy here. Oh, it's a heavy one. I am the seed that grew the tree, a nature poem for every day of the year. So it's set out, as it would suggest, with the days of the year. And there's a nature poem for every single one of varying lengths. And these poems have been selected brilliantly, very carefully. They're from all around the world. They're very diverse. There's some old and some new, and of course the poems tend to go with whatever season you happen to be in as well. So let's find, here we go, here's a nighttime summer spread. I mean, just look at it, it's so vibrant and bold. The pictures, in my opinion, are quite childlike, quite simple and bold, but I love that. It's not sort of sketched, it's more chunky. And really appealing to young children especially, to have a good look at the picture whilst you read some of the poems. It's also fantastic if you've got someone's birthday coming up and you're stuck for what to write in their card, to insert a little poem like this, which will be seasonally appropriate. It's just such a lovely touch. I also think it's brilliant for encouraging your children to learn and recite poetry as well. They say that recitation is extremely good for brain development. It helps to teach about grammar and it builds confidence and vocabulary. So it could be a really fun activity for you and your child to go and pick your favourite poems and to learn them and recite them off by heart. And you can give a little performance to someone for their birthday as well. So many things to do. I mean, just look at it. Absolutely gorgeous. It also has each month laid out like this, and then it lists the poems with the authors here, so you can go off and look up more poems by the authors that you've enjoyed as well. I will say, you can see it's a very thick and it's a hardback, so it's very, very heavy. Keep it out of the way of little hands and feet, because if that was to drop on them, ouchie. So what a wonderful book. I think that to start children off young with poetry, it can really help them navigate their feelings and emotions and make them sort of less scared of poetry, because it can be quite intimidating, I think. So the next lovely book to talk about is this one. It's called Slow Down, and it's a series of nature stories. It's really charming, and the writer asks us to bear witness to the many workings of nature and to pause and slow down a minute and really let ourselves be drawn in and taken in by a moment happening outside. It's the lovely bluebells here. So each double page spread is its own mini story, and the title of the story is up here. So A Snail Leaves a Trail, and it will follow a snail around the garden. Let's show you another one. Ooh, nice. A mosquito makes a narrow escape, and a sparrow takes a bath. Moss drinks in a woodland rain shower. How gorgeous is that? So, although it's not specifically divided into seasons, it does sort of flow seasonally. So you'll find more of the colder, wintry ones early on here, as you can see. And then we sort of move into spring, a rainbow appears. Now, the information is really fantastic. Borderline a bit too much, I'd say. I think there's sort of 5% too much waffle on each page, but that's just me being super critical. Apart from that, it's super informative. It's got quite a good balance between storytelling and science, and there are also bits that you can skip over, text of different size, so you can just skip to the bigger text if you feel like it's going on a bit too long. So in terms of reading age, I would put this for a child a little bit older, perhaps a read aloud to a young 5-year-old, or an 8-year-old, I'm sure, would manage to gobble this up on their own and really enjoy it. And the illustration style is very sweet. a tiny bit naive, but I absolutely love that because I think it's completely appropriate for a book like this. Now at the back, it's got a couple of really useful pages. You've got your bibliography there, so you can go and look up further information on some of the science and where they've got all their facts and figures. And then here's some information about further reading. You've got things like from the RSPB and Kew Gardens. The other thing I really liked about this page is there's quite a lot of acknowledgement of mindfulness and helping children to relax and to feel comfortable in their own skin, as well as appreciating nature. It's a reference to Greenpeace there. So this is a really useful resource, and I can't also help but mention that both the author and the illustrator have dedicated this book to their mums. I just think that's gorgeous. Mums rule, right? So I really appreciated that touch. So I think this is a really gorgeous seasonal book to have out on your nature table, and lots to enjoy. So our next book is this one. It's called Earthwise, Environmental Crafts and Activities with Young Children. It is jam-packed full with the most wonderful ideas for all sorts of activities that you can do. I have gone in myself and actually divided this book into the different seasons, but it does it for you inside. So here you can see autumn. One of the things I also love about this book is the voice of the author. She asks us to be more sensitive to a higher quality of nature, to go outside, to bring nature into our homes, and that's whether you're at home, in the classroom, or just out and about with your kids. It's about the more we get back in touch with nature, the more simple and wonderful our lives become. So it's a gorgeous message behind it. So I'll just show you a few different crafts here. You've got, well, here you have some recipe, making apple sauce, cutting apple shapes. As you can see, I've earmarked a few of these crafts for my own activities in the year. So here we have cutting apples to see the star shape inside, and making a mushroom, different ways of slicing, making here drying apples to make some wall hangings. And we have lanterns. Oh, absolutely lovely. You make little nature people. How sweet is that? And here we have a leaf crown and a leaf banner. So in winter, we've got things like making snow scenes and stars in the window. More little dolls out of nature, and wool dolls, and a candle holder, and some origami here, and decorating candles. Then into spring, we've got things like dish gardens, flower leaf crowns, pressed flower cards, weaving with wool. And then into summer, you've got things like making little walnut boats. Oh, it's just so sweet. And paper birds. Making wigwams out of sticks. Basket weaving. And then right at the end of this book, the publishers have included a list of some of their other books, and they really are fantastic. You've got books about painting, woodworking, seasonal specific crafts, and toy making. Things like working with wool, really useful resource. So I'm definitely going to be looking at some of these other books as well. A lovely book to have, jam-packed full of ideas that you can do with your little ones all year long, so I thoroughly recommend this. Now over to this gorgeous book, A First Book of Nature. The illustrations here are simply divine. I mean, I will just show you some of them. So this book is a combination of poetry and sort of scrapbook, little mini stories. It's got the odd recipe in there as well. And the author actually trained as a zoologist and has worked for the BBC Natural History Unit, so she really knows her stuff. And the illustrator is massively inspired by nature. As you can see, a lot of his style is that kind of paper cutout style. Mark Herald is the illustrator, and I've got a few other books by him. He's just fantastic. His style, I think, really goes with that kind of scrapbooky feel to this book. Gorgeous, gorgeous. So again, it follows the seasons throughout the year. This one is talking about the harvest. Got a very autumn feel here. Summer song and frogs. Cherry blossom. So it's a very unpretentious, gorgeous nature book with just the right balance of information, storytelling, and feast for the eyes in terms of the pictures. So another great one for the collection. So a very special book that I'm so happy to talk about today is this one, Festivals, Family and Food. It is jam-packed full of poems, songs, short stories, craft activities, recipes. As you can see, I've really gone to town with investigating it and labelling it based on all the different celebrations and ideas that it has. It really takes into consideration cost, so most of the activities are free and cheap, crafting from items that you can find around the home. The author has written this in response to the massive commercialization of all of the major holidays, which I'm sure that we all feel a little bit. The author talks about using rituals and festivals to aid our personal integration and respect for nature and to have more of a sense of community as well. I would say that most of the festivals they talk about do stem from a Christian faith, but one can absolutely bring in all different festivals from multiple cultures and weave them in until you've got this wonderful annual timeline of activities and fun. Turning to the contents here, you can see it's divided into the seasons with a little extra bit about herbs there. And then you've also got chapters on birthdays and rainy days and convalescence, your own ideas as well, extra touches, making sweets, all sorts of different things like that. So it really, truly is just jam-packed with things to do. So some festivals are very obvious. You've got things like, for example, Valentine's Day. And just to give you an idea, it gives you a gorgeous sort of poetic quote here, and then the story of St. Valentine. Craft idea for making cards, and then you've got a song here with some music and teaching you a dance, and then it's got a biscuit recipe, and then we're into Shrove Tuesday. So you've got a pancake recipe, you've got a story, then we're into Mothering Sunday, so you see how it can flow. Now, as well as some of the obvious festivals, you've got more of the unknown ones, or long forgotten ones, or unfashionable ones, perhaps I could say. So Candlemas, for example, talks about how to make candles here. I'll insert a picture. I did actually make some beeswax candles, and I also decorated some candles as well with my family. It was so fun to do. I've never done anything like that before, but I think Candlemas is going to become a firm feature in our diaries ahead. Here we have Whitsun, and we have more poetry, more stories and songs. And here we have The Harvest. Again, more stories and an excerpt from Lark Rise to Candleford, poems about the harvest, and a little piece here on how to make a corn dolly. And it goes into further detail on the next page. Going into the autumn, we have Martinmas here, where you can make lanterns and more songs, and it tells the story of St. Martin. And then we're into Christmas, and we have information on making your own Christmas tree decorations, which is just such a lovely family activity to do. And then we have a chapter about birthdays, and it goes into all these different party game activities, ones that are really inclusive and fun and don't leave any child feeling left out. There's some cake recipe and designs here as well. And this wonderful chapter, Rainy Days and Convalescence. So if your child's sick or there's naught to do outside, you've got all these wonderful little poems and topical stories. This one's gorgeous, waiting at the window and watching two little raindrops that are called John and James, and watching them race down as well. And some ideas for indoor activities and also little games here. This is a really fun picture game. I'm sure all of us know some sort of version of this. Million different things to do with paper, and then a few little extra bonus things at the end, you know, songs and more poems. It is, I don't want to say the word, but it sort of feels like this is going to be my Bible, you know. It's so inspiring, and it means I don't have to think, and I can be super creative, cool mum, and actually I've got all my ideas from here, so don't tell anyone. Now, the last book to talk about, I'm sure, is one that a lot of you will recognise. It's called The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady. What a special book this is. Now, it was first written in 1906, but the book lay undiscovered for nearly 70 years, so it wasn't until the late 70s where it was published. It's the diary of a naturalist, I'd say. She's a woman who lived in Warwickshire. She was an illustrator and an artist, and it's full of poetry and thoughts and observations about nature. It's separated into different seasons. So for example, here we have April. There's some information about where the name of the month came from, and so many different poems and drawings that are all specific to each season. More poetry here. And then we have her actual diary entries. Now this lady very much enjoyed cycling all around the country, just observing everything that she could see in nature. So she was always looking out for the buds of this plant or the noise of that bird call. She's found a nest, or you can see here the frog spawn has begun. So it's absolutely charming. It's extremely nostalgic, and it would make such a perfect gift for any mother or grandmother, anyone, in fact, anyone who appreciates nature. Just look how gorgeous that is. So it's a real celebration of the changing of the seasons, and it's also a really useful inspiration if you want to start your own nature journal. I mean, I don't think I'll ever produce anything as gorgeous as this author has, but I can give it a go. And the wonderful thing about nature journaling is that when you sit down and spend a lot of time getting to know, the hawthorn or a woodpecker, and you observe and you listen to the call and you smell and you document all of that, you end up with a very special, quite private relationship, I think, with nature, and that I think you'll carry with you for the rest of your life. So this is a really special book and a real inspiration to all of us to get out there and draw what we see and be close to nature again. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment. If you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. And if you want to purchase any of the books mentioned here, check out the list and the links below. I do receive a small commission for any items purchased, which really supports my channel and helps me bring you more content. So thank you, and see you soon.